So 20th of April, Mini Madness, take one. I'm only doing one take. Oh, 20th of April. You know what that means? 420, baby. Actually, 20th of April is not only Hitler's birthday, but also my birthday. Puts me in an awkward spot, to be honest. But it is my birthday, and turning 31 has me, I think, reverting back to my childhood more and more. Lately, I've been getting really back into Warhammer. So for this video, consider this my gift to you on my birthday, because there will be those of you watching this who don't know a lot about painting miniatures. It's not specifically Warhammer 40k or, the lore or even the game itself that I'm into. It's miniature painting. And some of you may be thinking, Jazza, miniature painting is not cool. It's for geeks. Well, how about for Superman? You think The Witcher is geek? Well, okay, yes, he is a geek, but he is proof that geeks are now cool and we rule the world. Henry friggin' Cavill, Superman himself, paints Warhammer 40k. I mean, in a recent interview when he was asked Star Wars or Star Trek, his answer was Warhammer 40k. The man has become a meme and likened unto the God Emperor of mankind himself. Obviously, I've found whatever opportunities I can to sneak in my love of 40k into my content, be it the old mural on my old studio where I had a Blood Angel Space Marine in the backdrop, or recently in the video where I sculpted a Space Marine from scratch in virtual reality to make a huge version of a miniature that I bought from a local hobby store and then put them side by side. That was a really fun project, and one that I saw a lot of you guys really enjoyed too. But also a lot of you who are into miniature painting were screaming at me to thin my paints, which I did not do, and you can tell by the miniature turnaround here that the details are very blobby and it's very splotchy and there's lots of surface texture. And look, to be frank, I rushed the painting. I know it sounds like an excuse, but I have a really pressed amount of time on this channel to make videos, and seeing the feedback and enjoying that process made me give it another go. And this time I took my time and didn't do it for content, and it was just so much fun. So this is the result of the latest miniature I've painted. This is the second miniature I've painted since being back into the hobby. The difference is, of course, as you can tell, I thinned my paints, but also really just took my time, and I did it for me, which is the reason I'm really getting back into it. Because to be completely honest with you, I don't make art in my own time, really. I do it so much on this channel and for work that it doesn't feel like a break if I sit down to draw a picture when I'm at home. However, pulling out some Warhammer stuff and painting a miniature and not rushing, but just like, spending a couple of hours here or there just working on a certain aspect of the miniature is really gratifying and really rewarding and really fun and super satisfying to see the end result, as you can see here. I just find these turnarounds really, really fun to look at. So before we get to the miniatures, let me start off by saying the lore of Warhammer 40k is very fun. So even if you're not into the art or the miniature painting aspect, there's a lot there for you to sink your teeth into, and I'll just brush through a few really cool places you can check out to soak up a little bit of the dark, grim, and intense lore of Warhammer 40k. If you're looking for not so much like the nitty-gritty, but you just want something completely epic, check out Astartes. It's an independent filmmaker who's creating a fan-made Warhammer 40k story. It's just in bite-sized pieces, but it's just so high quality and incredible to watch. Cinematic. There's like 5 episodes and they're only like a couple of minutes each. So go check it out. All of the links to all of this stuff is going to be in the description of this video, and there's going to be a lot of links. So just let me say that now. But Astartes is phenomenal, and episode 5 came out 2 weeks ago, blew my mind, and I'm backing them and a lot of these other guys on Patreon. So I'd encourage you to do that as well if you find people or channels that you really respect and you want to get a bit more of a behind the scenes glimpse, but also support what they do. So then if you want to dive deeper into the lore itself, there's this great set of videos by Bricky on YouTube who explains every Warhammer 40k faction in a really entertaining and fun to watch, lighthearted way. They're longer videos, but they cover so much and it's really fun to watch. Then if you find that fun and you want to get a little more serious, Luton09, or is it Luet? I don't know how to pronounce that, but this whole channel is pretty much dedicated to Warhammer 40k lore. And if you're into that sort of thing, another YouTuber you're going to really enjoy is Baltimore's Guide to Warhammer. He does a similar thing covering specific factions, but I guess the guy who runs the channel is a bit of a voice actor. Just the rich voice and delivery is just so, it really draws you in. Let's move on to the miniatures. This is where you'll see me get a little bit giddy because I have a lot of fun and I get so much inspiration from so much of this stuff and these people. So starting off with Scott, the Miniature Maniac over on Miniac. Fantastic channel and really entertaining content, really high quality advice and memes. There's a huge variety of content and reviews and advice on his channel, but it's just definitely a place I would recommend subscribing to for getting into or observing the hobby, whether you want to sink your teeth into it yourself or just see someone who's really good at it. Then we have Squidmar Miniatures. This guy has a really cool vibe to his content, and he takes on some pretty ambitious projects. Recently he did this undead pirate epoxy resin diorama. That's the sort of thing I really want to work towards doing. I don't know if I'll make content out of it or not, but the idea of making miniatures that sort of interact with each other or have this little standalone scene or world, that stuff really captivates me. So he's done a little bit of that, and he's got some really cool and entertaining videos on reviewing artists on Fiverr who painted his miniatures for certain amounts of money. Again, a lot of advice, a lot of really interesting projects, really entertaining videos, but certainly a YouTuber you must subscribe to. Another channel I've discovered that I've fallen in love with even since recording this video is Black Magic Craft. He's a YouTuber who not only does miniatures, but he does dioramas and amazing scenes, really ambitious sets and cool little tutorials and guides. So if you're finding you're into the miniatures thing, but you're really more into the dioramas or the action or scenes themselves, Black Magic Craft is certainly an amazing resource and really fun watch. Goober Town Minis is a really lighthearted and fun presented channel where basically like a lot of the art challenges that you'll see a lot of art YouTubers do, very similar approach to miniatures, which is really entertaining. Honestly, any of you who get into art videos on YouTube, you will get into this stuff, trust me. His video, Fundamentals, A Complete Guide to Painting Minis, is a really great starting point for people who want to step into it. And it's a video he made for himself when he was starting painting minis, and there's some really top advice in there. Even for someone like me who did paint for a long time, I'm like learning so much from all these guys. Travario Miniatures is an astounding miniature painter with some really in-depth and pro advice there as well. And on YouTube, last but not least, Duncan Rhodes Painting Academy is a newer channel, but with some really great step-by-step videos showing how some great miniature painting is done. Also worth mentioning, and I didn't know this at the time when I recorded the channel, but the reason he has such few videos on his channel is Duncan Rhodes used to be one of the official Warhammer painting guys. He is the origin of many of the painting memes, such as the too thin coats thing. I genuinely believe Duncan Rhodes is the sole reason everyone was screaming at me to thin my paints. Well, that and the fact that I didn't thin my paints. Okay, so that'll do for YouTube for now. There's more that I've been watching and more that I should plug, but I also want to cover as much as possible in this video. So if I've missed any that you recommend I should check out, let me know in the comments. I'm soaking all of this up at the moment. But let's move over to Instagram, because there are some of you who may not care much about getting into the lore or even learning how to do it or see people do it creatively, but seeing the result is such a satisfying thing in and of itself. Starting off with the Sergio Calvo miniatures. Now some of these artists of course paint Warhammer 40k, but some of them just paint miniatures and it's all satisfying. Like whether you're into 40k or not, honestly look up miniature painting, just the hashtag miniature painting on Instagram, and there is just so much satisfying stuff. It's amazing. Look at that. And do you know what just blows my mind is like some really advanced miniature painters don't even use metallics when they paint metal. They manually paint the lighting of that environment and the reflectiveness of the materials on the models themselves. It's mind-blowing. One of my favorite examples of someone so effective at painting metallics without necessarily using metallic paints is Flame On Miniatures, another one on Patreon backing who's just incredible, and he has tutorials on his Patreon. Look at this! That's not metallic! It's how the hell did they do that? Well, he has some videos, so you can see a little glimpse as to how the hell they do that. It's just like one tiny little brush tip paint at a time, blending the colors like seamless. Oh my god. And if that weren't amazing enough, astoundingly talented miniature painters also incorporate lighting and intense color schemes into what would otherwise be a flat color scheme model. So we have Eriki One, I think that's how you pronounce it. This guy's one of my favorites for a number of reasons. First of all, he does a lot of the sculpting and modifying himself. Like look at this one, like there's so much like custom stuff here that he's just made or sculpted or tweaked himself. But then you've got the lighting, the way that red plasma glow is, that like that's not lit, that's painted, and it's so effective. The way it is reflecting on all of the armor as it would in a real environment. Look at the paint chips and the way there's like lighting and contrast and shadow in the paint chips on the miniature. And this is why I think so many of you guys would just love checking out this stuff, because there's so much to appreciate, but there's also so much to learn and pick up from seeing people who are so good at it. And it's also really satisfying to see these projects evolve. So this is a really fantastic example of a model that he's sort of taken the base off of a different model, and obviously, as you can see, added a lot of bits that look quite scrappy early on, but he's obviously got this vision in mind for something he's working towards. And look at it evolve, like how complete it looks just with the base coat. And then as we go in and add the details and then the paint chips, one microscopic dot of paint at a time. Oh my God, just watching this makes you appreciate the end result. And then speaking of the end result, I mean, look, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Are we looking at the same thing? I feel like an unreasonable person when I get this excited about watching and looking at astounding miniature painting. But look at the terrain and there's always something more to appreciate. But then we have lighting. Oh my God. The lighting. Look at this model coming together in the way that there are these blues and purple hues that are added after all that detail from this lightning sword that is painted. It's just mind-blowing. KenWF is another artist I've found and really enjoyed checking out his stuff on Instagram. A lot of these details and effects are really cool to find people who are really good at them. So we've got this lava look here. Another example of a little bit of that light bouncing off of the legs there from the lava. Another metallic paint scheme painted with no metals. And then this artist, Thunderwolfen. This guy does really effectively one of the things I really want to be able to do effectively with my personal miniature projects, and that is doing these conversions and custom poses and sculpts within the miniature to make them really unique. So here's an example of how they've taken this basic miniature and added all these interesting effects and sculpts on top with this green stuff that they mold. And then they've built these custom bases out of all these detailed elements. And the result is a miniature just with so much more of a dynamic aesthetic and a unique look, like from any other miniature that you can get out there. How badass is that? Like the color, the painting and the color scheme, the base, the pose, the model. So cool. Hui's Vision is another artist that just blows my mind. I mean, look at that metallic and then lightning effect on the painting there. It's absolutely amazing. This one just was staggering to me because the robes, like that silky, soft glow on that paint job is amazing. And this is one of the most satisfying things for me too, is just to see those model turnarounds, which is why I wanted to do one of mine at the start of the video. It's way less impressive, but it's just so satisfying just to take that time to sink in every detail of the miniature and really appreciate the end result. Because that's one of the most fun things about doing the miniature painting is, like, honestly, I've found myself just pulling out that miniature I painted and just looking at it for like a few minutes and being like, yeah, I did that. You know, like that's really rewarding as an artist, especially for someone who tends to be quite self-critical and rush a lot of things out because I'm a YouTuber and I've got to make content, keep up with the schedule. I mean, I feel really liberated having reclaimed a hobby that I can do in my own time, and I don't feel like I have to do something for content. I'm doing something for me. Now, they're my top favorite Instagram miniature painters at the moment. I'm finding more every day, but I certainly recommend looking up the hashtag miniature painting because you just discover so many fantastic painters and creations here. And then also, if there are certain elements of it that you like, I recommend looking up or finding or discovering the hashtags that are most appealing to you. For example, I really like that sort of green stuff conversion stuff. So if you look up green stuff sculpting, that's one where I found some of these really satisfying projects of people who use the green stuff and make really unique projects and poses and characters that are often entirely different from the original model or just completely new models in and of themselves. I think the last thing I wanted to cover is actually a website I didn't know existed until I watched a video from Miniac, Scott the Miniature Maniac, a website called Paint and Putty, which appears to be nothing but incredible miniatures. But look at that, like, look at this. Any shot of this miniature looks like a painting. I mean, it technically is a painting. It's just painted on a three-dimensional canvas. But like looking at that flat like that, you would assume it's a canvas painting, but no, like it's a miniature. Like, look at the shadows and the way that the skin tone and like that pink edging in the inside of where the muscles sort of join up, and real painterly aesthetic, and the texture in the fur, and oh my God, it's so friggin' satisfying. This artist is Raphael Picker, and he's someone who's just done some phenomenal things. I'll link to him and some of the others in the description. There's a lot of links in the description. Look at these, like every single one. Oh my God, I haven't seen this one. Oh, that's amazing. That green tint on the armor and the way like you just it just pulls you in. It's so cool. This artist is called Sprocket. Some fantastic contrast and color schemes here. Huge amount of detail. And these miniatures and the painting style have so much character. They're like screenshots from the coolest video game of all time that hasn't been released on computer. It's just they're just a miniature. This artist is Gareth Nicholas, who has this incredible sort of vibrant and really sharp shading style with beautifully vibrant colors. I think that'll about do for this video. There's really not more I can say other than if you found this video satisfying, go check out those links in the description. You won't regret it. There's just so much inspiration out there, and they will inspire and affect and encourage your other artistic abilities, be it two-dimensional painting or digital art, even sculpting with clay and things like that. There's something about minis that sort of combines all of these elements into one craft, which is super satisfying, more satisfying because they're so small for some reason. It's just like, oh my God. Anyway, this video obviously won't appeal to everyone. Miniatures is a hobby that is sort of a niche hobby when it comes to hobbies, but at the same time, there's a lot of people who love it, and there's a lot of people who watch my channel who may not know that I'm this enthusiastic about miniatures. So it's out there now, and I don't know how much it'll affect future content, but I gotta say, I'm really getting into it. So you'll certainly see influences of it, and occasionally full pieces of content dedicated to this rediscovered and rejuvenated passion of mine. So much so that you remember the set I was gonna do in front of the brick wall, which was just gonna be another filming location. I've just completely scrapped that idea, and I'm just gonna make a hobby station. That'll be to help me do videos where normally I have to set up all of my painting and sculpting materials, my airbrushing stuff, or my air compressor, and all the things that I pull out for a specific project. I'm gonna take the time to create a space where all of that is there and ready to go, so I can use my airbrush and air compressor and use some of the Dremels and power tools and all the paints and all that good stuff, and it's always there ready to go, which means I can get a little bit more crafty, which I'm really looking forward to. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to like it so other people who might be enticed into the obsessive world of miniature painting might see it and get sucked into it themselves, because the more of us out there painting minis, the better the world is. There's a reason that probably, but sounds logical to me. Make sure to subscribe, by the way, if you haven't. If you found this video because you watched some of the other mini painters and you were recommended this, I'm certainly going to be incorporating a bit more of that hands-on crafty miniature painting stuff in my future content, but it's also something I've done in the past and look forward to doing more of in the future. So you won't regret subscribing here, and maybe checking out one of the videos over there is going to be a good place for you to start to sort of get a bit of the vibe as to how much I'm really into this stuff. Thank you so much for watching. That's it for now, and until next time, I'll see you later.